Let's ruin our lives.
Getting pissed at high tides, chewing up like cyanide. Please don't revive. Let's ruin our lives. Some pills in acid, nails in my casket. That sounds romantic. To just ruin our lives.
それじゃあビデオ見てもらいます。寝んなよ。
Hello everybody, welcome back to Let's Ruin Our Lives, joined today by another wonderful musician coming out of Phoenix, Arizona. I'm very happy to introduce you all to Tim Scritchfield from He Then.
See, this'll all be over soon. Well, have we passed the point to run? Well, when did this stop being fun?
Thank you for coming on, Tim.
Hello. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate you very much coming on. So let's just get right into it. What is fascism? What are the signs of it? And how do we fight it?
If you want to, I don't know if you want to be sociologically correct or if you just want kind of a short, kind of,
However you want to. Yeah.
I say that because my degree is in sociology and I don't want to be too academic and boring. I tend to do that. It's authoritarian government where power is concentrated at the top, and it usually is accompanied by extreme religious nationalism too. And the signs of it are essentially everything that has happened in the last 6 months in this country.
Sure.
To be perfectly honest with you. We definitely have a consolidation of power happening. We have our own military being used against our own citizens in the streets. Multiple cities at this point. And we definitely have nationalism, religious nationalism happening.
Yeah.
Project 2025 is a real thing. They tried to deny that that's what they were going to do, but they're doing it. Just like most of us thought they would. So,
yeah, for sure.
That's kind of where we're at right now.
Project 2025, is that a book that outlines the plan?
I wouldn't necessarily call it a book, but it's.
Okay.
I guess you got it. It's guidelines. It is published, written guidelines on how to make this nothing except a Christian nation, and not even the good kind of Christian. We're talking about the militant, heavily armed, faction that likes to really rally their hate against people they don't understand.
Right, definitely.
Yeah,
I would say it has absolutely nothing to do with the guy they call Jesus and what the message was from he said or whatever. It seems
absolutely.
To be quite the opposite.
If whether you believe if he existed or not, or whether you do believe he existed or not, that the historical text, he was a leftist Palestinian.
Yeah, for sure. Feminist. Yeah. I mean, hung out with, people say he hung out with hookers. Have you read the Gospels?
Not as an adult, no. I went through a lot of when I was younger, when I was mid-teens, late teens, early 20s, everybody's kind of got a spiritual journey, where they try and find something that suits them. And I tried many different world religions, and I tried to, I was, for a little while, I was caught up with a youth group when I was about 15 or 16 years old that was very heavy on the Book of Revelation. So
scary.
For a while there, my view of the Bible was very doomsday type stuff. But I'll flip through it. It's a historical book. It has absolutely nothing to do with my life, or does not shape my code of ethics. But it's a book that exists.
Yeah, for sure. Good point. Yeah, I just wanted to throw out that, you grow up always hearing that Mary Magdalene was a prostitute. I see no mention of that whatsoever. I don't see any mention of a prostitute in the four Gospels Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. I went through a similar thing, kind of, when I was like 18, 19, that I started studying like all world's religions and the Bible, Buddhism, Hinduism, witchcraft, and whatnot. And yeah, I don't know why I'm going off on this rant here, but anyways, fascism.
If you have any kind of any kind of lengthy conversation with me, it's going to tend to go off in little tangents back and forth. So welcome to my world, I guess you could say.
Yeah, well, you found the right podcast, my friend.
Good. I had a feeling I did. Yeah. I reached out to you because I saw you do interviews with some really good friends of mine that I play a lot of shows with. None, the boys from None. So.
Anthony and Chris, real cool guys.
Very good. I've played quite a few shows with them now at this point. I just met them 5-6 months ago, and we've probably already done 10-12 shows together, but it was right away, we clicked right away.
Those kids have good heads on their shoulders for sure. They're very they seem very politically conscious, socially conscious. So I guess I had 2 questions to go along with the fascism. What motivates you to write like politically conscious music? And would you consider it to be like activist music?
I mean, that's kind of tricky. I've always been a politically conscious person. I mean, even at a young age, I had from what I kind of experienced at a young age with abject poverty and violence and instability and food insecurity and such, you tend to get lost in music and books. And when you're part of the population that's kind of kicked to the curb, even as a young kid, you tend to get quite politically aware at a young age, because you know that you're if you don't gain knowledge, or if you don't respect knowledge, and you don't stand up for other populations that are being affected by corrupt people in power, then you will. It's survival. It starts off survival when you're younger, and then you end up. To me, the older you get, and the more educated you become, and the more knowledge that you seek and receive, just by nature, you just go farther and farther left and down on the political spectrum test, right? It's just a matter of being exposed to knowledge and history, especially human history in the last 400 or 500 years. You really tend to just, and whether you mean to or not, or I should say myself, whether I meant to or not, I find that my songs always have at least political undertones. If they're not overtly political, like in your face is what I'm saying. Yeah. There's something underlying that is political about it. And I think that, I think art is political by nature, by its very nature, and it's revolutionary. Art and music especially, I think, is revolutionary, because there's always the music that speaks truth to power, whether it be, in the 60s when you had Revolution, when you had like Nina Simone talking about things that, or it was, it was blues music in the 30s and 40s, and that's how I think a lot of people were exposed to Jim Crow and they were exposed, so it's like music has always been something that speaks truth to power, or even more recently you got like Public Enemy or Rage Against the Machine, or and they had a platform and they used it. We're so kind of as a people now, we're so enamored with with what's perceived as fame, that music is a very easy way to use a platform, small or large, and really, again, I know it's a broken record, I keep saying, but it's speak truth to power. It's probably the easiest way to get to a place where you can speak truth to power, because you have an audience, whether large or small, so.
Right. Yeah. I definitely agree with you. And I would say that music, being as powerful as it is, can definitely also be used as a tool to make people subservient to the will of those in power. Right. Like
100%.
there's a Dead Kennedy song called "Triumph of the Swill," which was all.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with that song?
Yeah.
Off their last album, "Bedtime for Democracy," and so I think that's pretty self-explanatory. It's about pop music being used to sort of nullify people, give them a more simplified version of reality that fits like this false narrative of the 1950s, like white picket fence, happy-go-lucky sort of a mindset, and that they're definitely bringing that back more than ever recently, I would say. But so I have a question about Rage Against the Machine. So definitely a great band, amazing, politics activists. What are your thoughts on them signing with Interscope Records, being such a huge mainstream commercial record label?
I've had this conversation.
Yeah.
Not necessarily in this exact context, but I've had it before when I was younger,
mm-hmm.
and the bands that I listened to and that I was into, in the 90s, it was. You discovered a band and you and a couple of your, degenerate friends listened to it in the woods, drinking beer and smoking joints. That was your music. That was your, you were the outcasts and the misfits. And then when somebody, when somebody else discovered them, or everybody else in the community or the school discovered them, you'd get pissed off. Right. They're a sellout, and look at, and when you're younger, and there's, don't get me wrong, there's still parts of me as a grown ass man where selling out is still, that's still a concept that I haven't completely forgotten it. But I also, now as I've gotten older, I've realized, if I was signed to a major label, that's kind of been the whole point all along, is if I could have a career paying my bills, making music, that's the ultimate goal. Right. Yeah. So it's kind of a battle, like, to go with that. It's for me, it would be like the ultimate goal, because I could make money and have a living doing the thing that really the only thing I've ever been very good at. But there is something kind of there is something kind of counterintuitive about a band who is all about fighting a system, and then it almost seemed like they became part of it, right? by doing that. So that's not a black or white question or answer. To be perfectly honest with you,
definitely. I would say most questions are, hopefully. So I mean, I guess I don't know, play devil's advocate or whatever. I mean, look at like the Clash, super political band, right? They signed with a major label. The Ramones did, the Sex Pistols did, all the early punk rockers, or the really popular ones, signed with major labels. Do you see that sort of as a way of like using the system against itself, like sort of like the great rock and roll swindle? Or I guess you said it's not black and white, so.
It's really not black and white. I mean, you could also look at it as Rage Against the Machine knowingly did that because they knew that they could get a larger audience to be exposed. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. There was some socio-political concepts that I learned from Rage Against the Machine, because inside of the liner notes of all their albums, they had the things they stood for, money, like where you should, spend your money, and the move bombings in Philadelphia. I learned about that from Rage Against the Machine.
What is that? I'm not familiar with the move bombings.
There was and this happened in 1985. There was the specifics, I wish I didn't even really mean to speak on this, but it came up. So there was a black activist group that was essentially, they were out of Philadelphia, and they were, like I said, they were a black activist group that was a community group, and they were deemed essentially as a terroristic threat to the United States, even though they were not. Right. And they were driven and barricaded into their home, into their, I'm not sure if it was their gathering place or it was the home of a few of the members. And the ATF, the FBI, everybody converged on it. And I don't know who made the call, if it was the ATF or the Philadelphia Police Department. Regardless, from a helicopter, they dropped a bomb on the house.
Oh, wow.
And killed a lot of people, including bystanders and neighbors. And to this day, they've been trying to shove it under the rug or justify it, saying they were a terroristic threat. And again, there's a lot of those specifics, and I wish that, like, I should prepare for if I'm going to
that's
an interview. But if you look at the move bombings, then like if you look it up, it's there on the internet, and it's something that absolutely happened. It's just in a long line of things that this government has done, or the people, or the dominant culture of this country has done against the already subjugated populations, like the Tulsa massacre, or the black community in Georgia that they flooded because they wanted a recreational lake. American history is just repeatedly has those kind of things that happen. So I mean, they were on Interscope. Rage was, they were on Interscope, and they were made the label. But that platform, 14 or 15-year-old me would never have known about, something in the American political history like that. That's a big deal. It's a really big deal. So, for sure, again, like, it's like, maybe they sold out. But.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, it's not like they ever changed their music to cater to the masses. They
didn't, definitely
not
at
all.
Yeah.
They always stuck to their guns with playing like this wildly innovative music. I mean, Tom Morello, amazing guitar player, you can't deny that, and amazing the sounds that he gets out of that thing. But do you know who Chris Dorner is?
Why does that name absolutely rings a bell?
So I guess it was a while ago, probably like 10, maybe more than probably 15 years ago now. He was a black police officer who worked for the Port of Los Angeles, and I forget how he ended up getting let go from the LAPD, but he started exposing the corruption of the LAPD, right? And he started assassinating cops that he knew were corrupt. And so there was like a month or 2 month long like chase to manhunt or whatever to try to find him. The cops accidentally shot up a truck that looked like it was his, but it was actually two Hispanic women just like working. And I don't think they ever got any compensation for that. And I guess they finally followed him like up into the woods of I think San Bernardino or somewhere. And they caught him up in Black Bear. I do remember that. And they firebombed his cabin, I guess, and that's all we ever heard. And then posthumously they released like a manifesto that he supposedly wrote, calling him crazy and depressed and all this stuff. It's just like, it's an endless cycle of this country repeating itself.
Over and over and over again.
Yeah, interesting. I never heard of the move bombings. Just real quick to add some levity, do you have a favorite stand-up comedian?
I love stand-up.
Nice.
I really, really do. But I don't, like, I go through phases. You gotta love the innovative ones. Like Richard Pryor was just brilliant. For sure. Bill Hicks was brilliant.
Nice. I had a feeling you might say Bill Hicks. Yeah.
I definitely had a Bill Hicks phase. I don't know if I'd call it a phase. I mean, he still is, like, he was.
Yeah, once you get into Hicks, you can't really let go.
He's hard to even, he was more, and I know that stand-up comedy is supposed to be holding a mirror up to society. But I mean, he was more social critic than comedian.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. A lot of his, you laughed at what he said, and then the very next, what should have been a punchline in one of his acts was really getting you to think.
Right.
And there was that whole aspect of the how important to him, or how the psychedelic aspect to it. He talked a lot about how, eating a whole bunch of mushrooms and then seeing that we're all one, and that we should all love each other, and doing it in a way that was, it started off as comedic, but by the end of the story, you're like, that's really profound, like the things he's saying.
For sure.
You know, so, yeah. So probably Richard Pryor, Bill Hicks. I like.
Nice.
I can't remember. Oh God, he's newer, younger guy, like millennial. He just went to rehab and got it. I can't remember his name. He wears like a shirt and tie, like a full suit, and he's kind of tall. And
John Mulaney.
Yes, he's pretty funny too.
He is very funny. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's not afraid to make fun of himself, and I think that's a big part of probably comedy too. Is
for sure.
Is make. I mean, honestly, that's kind of a big part of being human. I think if you can't make fun of yourself and you can't, somehow learn from or share with people all the times you've fucked up, then you're never going to grow as a person. So
I agree. To quote the Dead Kennedys again, we can't grow if we won't criticize ourselves. Yeah,
exactly. Like look at we've got to be able to, and I think that is the kind of the part of being a human that a lot of people forget, is that you're supposed to brush your mistakes under the rug, or you're not supposed to look in the mirror and go, hey, that was dumb. Or when I was younger, I grew up in a very rural, very conservative small town.
Oh, okay.
And I, even though I knew I was an outcast in the ways that I thought, I left there and I came down, to Phoenix, a city with significantly more culture. And I even if I looked at myself as very progressive when I was, a teenager,
right,
I still some of those ideas of being in a small conservative town had kind of snuck their way in.
Sure, yeah.
And luckily I was able to like recognize it. And when I did, it was like I have to look at this, and I have to look in the mirror. There was honestly in the 90s, homophobia was kind of okay, right?
Oh yeah, it was rampant. It was like the butt of every joke.
Yes.
Yeah.
And on the playground, very male dominated, toxic masculinity on the playgrounds.
Very much
in the 80s and 90s. I was able to kind of realize that, and that was a direct byproduct of being exposed to that all my life. No matter how hard you think that you're progressive and you're not like them, the people that live that way and preach that, you end up it's almost ingrained, and you have to fight it.
Totally.
A big part of it, and that you have to look in the mirror to be able to do that. So it's very uncomfortable to face, to look at yourself and realize that there's, some very big, gaps in what you thought was a really sound moral compass, right?
Right. Yeah. No, I totally get that. Yeah. Did psychedelics play a role in that self-reflection at all?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. No doubt. There's, and again, we all have a lot of regrets, and I'm not saying that, I know that my past drug use shaped who I am now. I'm healthy now and have been for a long time, but I did abuse drugs when I was younger, a lot. I had a major problem, almost killed me, but the only substance that I ever did, or I guess you'd say substances that I ever did that I don't regret, was psilocybin, mushrooms, and LSD.
Absolutely.
I look at my worldview, or just my moral compass and my worldview. There's a line of delineation where my eyes were opened. It's like how I looked at the world before I ever did psychedelics, and how I've looked at it since.
Right. Yeah. Totally. I get that.
Yeah, and I think more people should. I think society would be better if more people, ate some shrooms and went to Sedona for a weekend or something. I think we'd have a lot less violence.
I would 100% agree with that. Yeah, I used to just rant to my friends all day long about the benefits of psychedelics, where they would just come up to me like, "Dude, you got to stop!" So I'm a big advocate.
And I can't help it. It's like it's the truth that you want to. It's like a truth that you want to share, right? And it's not preachy or anything.
Right.
It's like this thing that has profoundly affected my worldview and how I see myself or the earth or other humans or animals. And
for sure.
I would like for you to feel that and see that. It's more of like
right.
But I guess, but it does come off as kind of preachy, probably to people that haven't done it. So
for sure, yeah, people are so terrified of psychedelics, and they have these massive misconceptions that you're going to see demons and just like lose your mind or whatever. They don't understand.
Jump out a window.
Random, exactly. Right? Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's part of that's a byproduct of that war on drugs,
definitely.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
That started with the Nixon administration and has been a thing ever since. And I think it was a stand-up comedian that said once, I want to congratulate drugs on winning the war on drugs.
That's right. Yeah. I've heard that before. I mean, even look at the name marijuana, right? That's not the name of the plant. They made that name up to associate it with Latinos and Hispanics because at that time there was all the fear mongering, sort of like we're experiencing now, or at least have been since George W. Bush, really, or a little bit after, I guess. But there's so much fear mongering around those substances. Which came first for you, LSD or psilocybin?
LSD.
Oh, okay. Do you have a preference between the two, or do you feel like one taught you more? For me, like I felt like LSD taught me more about like the outside world, and psilocybin taught me more about like myself, I guess. That's really, honestly, that's probably that's the closest I've heard somebody say to my view on it too. It's that LSD opens your mind to how the world around you affects you, and opens your eyes to the things happening, kind of like socially, and your interaction with that. Whereas psilocybin is more about your connection with and your relationship with the earth and the people around you, and your relationship with yourself. So it's like, it's kind of one is an inward trip, and one is an outward trip. Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Yeah, I once saw somebody online compare it to they said that LSD was like Star Wars and psilocybin is like Lord of the Rings.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Even
funny.
like the feelings itself, you know what I mean? LSD is so fast and it feels like a laser, and like psilocybin is much more like it's slower, like such like I always felt like it was an easier trip. I once combined the two, and that was fantastic.
that was I did that one time, and it was fantastic, but then I also realized I probably shouldn't do that again.
Right. For sure.
Because, it was sometimes if you there was on more than one occasion where I came down from my trip, and I was like, I did too much. And it went from instead of becoming something that was a true spiritual experience, I turned it into too much of a party.
Okay.
My relationship with psychedelics was something spiritual, whereas my relationship with cocaine or meth or any of those there's nothing spiritual about that. That's just let's destroy ourselves and let's just party until we die.
Yeah.
And when a LSD trip became that, it was almost like, okay, I need to remember not to do too much ever again, because it's like when it stops being spiritual and becomes something more gluttonous, I guess you could say, or it's so yeah,
I get that. I would say I'm definitely guilty of the more like being gluttonous around the psychedelic substances. Like I went to a lot of desert parties, and I would drink, which everybody listening, don't drink if you're going to do psychedelics at the same time. You way more of a chance of having a bad trip. In my experience, I think that's like scientifically documented as well. So I definitely abused those substances. Do you think there's ever a time to like take psychedelics and just like party? Because I mean, the parties I went to is dance music, and I don't know how familiar you are with like the rave scene. It tries to be very like sacramental, and like sort of connect with like the very first musicians, running around a fire butt naked, taking psychedelics and sort of losing your mind for the sake of like transcendence. is how I view it. But I guess that is kind of different than like a party.
But yeah, I mean, still, but again, like that is still a spiritual quest and a spiritual experience. I was a teenager in the 90s, which is kind of, the height of rave culture, or at least the beginning of it. But where I grew up, like I said, it's very rural, very, it's not really that close to any, large cities. It's, still 4 hours from Phoenix or or Tucson.
So you're from Arizona? I'm sorry to interrupt, but you're from. Oh, okay. Do you mind what town or city?
Oh, not at all. Yeah, I was born in Flagstaff and raised in Show Low. If anybody knows where
Show Low is the first place I ever went camping when I was 23.
Okay, no,
yeah,
it's beautiful up there. It is beautiful up
so
there.
Beautiful.
And there are some good people up there.
The very small community.
Yeah, it's a very small community, and outcasts tend to find each other regardless, and it's just that in a very small, very conservative town, there's less outcasts, right?
Definitely.
So you're vastly outnumbered, and it's a very, very religious community dominated by one religion.
Oh, okay.
And if you're not part of said religion, it's kind of hard to have grown up there. But again, there are good people up there. I don't want to paint this picture, and I lucked out that I grew up somewhere where I could wander around in the woods. It's beautiful up there, right?
Absolutely.
Seeing black bears in the wild and elk coming through your front yard and stuff. It was good for that, and also good for this, segue back into it. It was also good to wander around the woods, tripping.
Yeah, I could see that for sure.
Climbing trees and painting mud on your face and getting lost, and so. But it still was, it was hard being a leftist free thinker. There wasn't a whole lot of 15-year-olds reading Noam Chomsky.
Right. Yeah, I could imagine.
Right. So,
for sure. Yeah. Okay. Very cool. I love Northern Arizona. It's so beautiful up there. The muggy on rim. It's like a whole other world. It's so beautiful. Okay. Well, let's talk about your music here. Or actually, you know what? Before we get into the music, I kind of feel like something that people have told me is musicians who have come on. I don't know if you know Matt Lohr from the Fast 86ers.
Sorry, say that again. You kind of broke up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you know Matt Lohr from the Fast 86ers from Phoenix?
Yeah, I've played with the Fast 86ers three or four times. One or two times with my last band I was in, and I actually just played a show with them at the Palo Verde about a month and a half, 2 months ago. Matt reached out to me and he was like, "Hey, we would love for you to come and do like a hour set. It's just you, us, and one other band." So I do know the Fast 86ers. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry. I totally had like a brain malfunction. I forgot why I even brought that up. But he was he's our last released episode. Right. He complimented on me not strictly speaking only about your music or the guest music. So if you don't mind, I'd like to pick your brain a little bit more about fascism and I guess sociology. I've always been fascinated in sociology. So what can people do to fight fascism? Just as an umbrella question there, take it as you will. How can, better than that, how can we recognize it?
That's something that unfortunately I don't think can be taught. I guess you could say it's if you're not already not recognizing it right now, I don't know that you're going to. Because again, I can't remember. And I'm going to paraphrase this quote, and I can't remember exactly who said it, but fascism will show up in America wrapped in an American flag holding a Bible.
Right, yeah.
And that's exactly what we're seeing. And when you are able to take a large portion of the population and convince them that this leader is all for them and is some kind of like sent by God, even though he's a serial adulterer and rapes children and is on his third wife. If you haven't already seen it, you're not going to.
Yeah, that's sad. That's depressing.
It is. I mean, it honestly really is. But there still is, you know, we always gotta be careful not being completely in an echo chamber, but you also do want to surround yourself. And everybody in my life and in my sphere recognizes it. So we're not alone.
Yeah,
right?
That's true. That's good to recognize. You know, I once saw this clip of Trump. Obviously, that's who we're talking about.
Yes. That was a given. I thought that was a given, yeah.
Right, well, you never know. We recently got a follow from somebody whose Instagram handle is John Trump 1. Like, what makes you look at this page
and think this is where, like, this is a place to be?
Yeah, I don't get it, you know, but I saw this clip. It was from his first term, where, you know, he's at one of his fascist rallies or whatever, and he's soaking in all the praise and like worship, and they're cheering, and he said something along the lines of, don't, you're going to make me cry, and if I cry, then you won't love me anymore. And I was just like, oh my God. Like, well, that's what a pathetic thing to say.
That is that. And that is also a byproduct of toxic masculinity. That's a byproduct of a patriarchal society where, you know, men, especially white men, have held all of the power for the entirety of human history. And it's honestly, it's not fair. It's not fair to our sons either. I try and raise my son to be emotionally available and break the cycle that men we're not allowed to, like, feel and give a shit and express pain and be vulnerable. And I struggle with that because, you know, in the 80s and 90s, boys still didn't cry. And
in the early 2000s as well. That was still very much had a vice grip on everybody's minds, at least a lot of the people that I knew.
And they're trying to bring it back right now. You know, they're trying to that picture of the stoic Christian father runs. It's like, shut the fuck up.
I know.
Like, come on.
And
nobody wants that anymore.
I know. I'm not the most educated person in the world, but I feel like, again, that's like a bastardization of stoicism. Like, I mean, you know, it's something that really gets me, and I like to bring this up with, like, how incredibly unoriginal white supremacists are. For, like, the swastika, taken from Eastern traditions. The word Aryan.
Native American as well. It was also founded from Native Americans have a symbol that's very close to it. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, the term Aryan has nothing to do with people from the Caucasus Mountains. It's the people who settled the Indus Valley and brought Hinduism into that region of the world. And then you got the tiki torch. I mean, it's just like there's skinhead culture. I'm sure you're aware the original skinheads were anti-racist.
The original skinheads were the ones that were, like, chasing the Nazis out of punk shows.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. It's really quite pathetic. Do you think,
I mean, if you look at it historically, white people have been pirating everything from the beginning of time. I mean, like the music that I grew up on and the music that I make is all music that was stolen from black culture.
100%.
All of it.
Yeah, same.
Jazz, bluegrass, blues, all of it. Rock and roll. Like, everybody's like, you know, the picture of rock and roll and the beginning of rock and roll is always going to be Elvis and Jerry Lee Lewis, even though they both stole the music. I mean,
and we're pedophiles.
Very outwardly. Yes, and that too.
Yeah.
And that too. You know, so it's like, and even things is you know, even things is as simple as a lot of the things that white culture uses to cook with or to clean with. These were all things that were invented by and used almost exclusively by other races and cultures.
For sure.
And then white people came in and took it more like, look at how great we are. Like, we like to take shit and then say it's our own. And but like you were saying, very unoriginal.
Right, yeah, like, definitely. This is great. I'd love to have you back on. There's so much that you're making me want to bring up. I won't bring... Yeah, it's okay. We can keep going on for... Sorry, I'm sort of talking to myself now.
That's right. So, I do that all the time.
No,
Right.
Yeah, no, it's actually been over a decade since I did any psychedelics, and I quit drinking recently, so I'm sober for the first time in my life. or, since I was like 17, 18 years old.
Yeah.
You had mentioned like struggling with drugs and recovery. What is that something that is like personal, or from like an outside source that you dealt with?
Like why did I struggle or use, or why did I get clean, you mean?
Both.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess you can't talk about one without the other.
Right.
It's been for me, I think it's been 16 or 17 years since my last psychedelic experience.
Yeah.
Right around the same time I stopped using, I got clean from all drugs, period. But then the mistake I made is that I was like, look, I've quit doing, I don't do coke anymore, and I'm not smoking crack, but I just drank, and then I have an addictive personality, so I'm an addict, so I'm an alcoholic. So for another
Me too.
8 or 9 years, I was still self-destructive drinking. So I got completely sober in December of 2013.
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay.
I've been completely sober, not California sober as they call it. I've been completely sober in 2013. So
yeah.
But it was why did I start using was because I think there's a couple of factors, and I think that it's not. I don't think it's definitely not exclusive to me, and I think it's pretty common, and it's something we don't really want to talk about. Is that addiction and mental illness are both nature and nurture, right? Addiction is hereditary, but it's also environmental. So I was kind of predisposed to be an addict because I come from addict.
Right.
But also I was raised in extremely unstable conditions where everybody around, like all the adults around me used. And because of that, there was a lot of that instability and like I said, food insecurity and displacement. So it's escapism. And that's why I started, and that's why I continue to use. But then it was also, I've learned as I've gotten older too, as I've gotten in tune with my mental illnesses, is I was self-medicating for years too.
Yeah.
I felt everything. I felt like the most outcasty of outcasts, right? I couldn't find too many people that thought like me or felt like me. So I would use to mask that, because then when you use, you feel sort of normal, and now you can actually interact a little bit more with humans. So like it was self-medication, it was escapism, and then it became a part of your life because I'm an addict and I have an addictive personality, and I don't do one of anything. We'll just say that. Yeah. And getting sober, getting clean from illicit drugs was survival. I finally realized that if I don't stop doing this, I'm going to die very fast. And then when I got completely sober and quit drinking, it was partially that, but more I was about to have a son, and it was like, do I want to be a present father, or do I want to have my son be fatherless like I was?
Right. Yeah.
And so it was like, and it was a choice, but it was also kind of like the decision was easy. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, right? I totally get that. Yeah. I also have a son, and it definitely took me longer to finally give up alcohol. It was pretty difficult. It ended with me trying to go to rehab and accidentally going to a mental institution that brands itself as a rehab. And
don't do that.
Yeah. I had no idea, but there's a whole episode that we made about it. But yeah, no, I totally get that. Which was harder for you to give up, like the substances or alcohol?
Alcohol.
Yeah, for sure.
Hands down.
For sure.
And the thing that I think that a lot of we don't talk about enough is that not only is alcohol as addictive as illicit street drugs. But it is,
yeah.
And a lot of them, it really is, and it's one of the most powerful depressants known to man. And when you get clean from coke or heroin or meth, you can take steps to stay away from it,
Right.
and stay away from the people that you used with. You can physically move towns, or you can cut them out of your life and off your contact list.
Definitely.
And take steps to be away from it. When you quit drinking, everywhere you go in to buy gas at Circle K, and there's beer everywhere, and vodka everywhere. You go to play, like 90% of the shows that I do are in bars.
Definitely. Yeah.
And it's socially acceptable. So it's like, alcoholics, violent alcoholics are like, they for some reason are not nearly as frowned upon as a violent cokehead, even though it's the same fucking thing. It's the same thing.
Right. So, they're like, oh, he's just on coke, or and then slugging back whiskey while you're looking down on the person who does other substances.
Exactly. I was raised by around a lot of people that were like that were, and I think that's part of why that I've had that kind of journey away from religion. Is I was raised around these extremely conservative religious people who were from Monday to Saturday were racist and homophobic and misogynistic and violent and drunk, and then on Sunday they would go to church and they're like, everything is fine, and then by Monday morning they're a racist piece of shit again, and it's like, But all they did was drink, right? And then these are the same people that look at cannabis as like this horrible thing, when cannabis actually has medicinal benefits, proven medicinal benefits. For sure. There's nothing beneficial about alcohol.
There isn't. I agree. It took me a long time to really come to terms with that. I guess I still am. And also, just look at the cannabis plant itself. Is there any other plant that's as diverse in its range of uses? You could literally build houses with hemp. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yes. You can make concrete out of hemp.
Some of the strongest ropes. There's textiles. There was a company that made like building materials, like really strong. I think it was roofing or something like that. I mean, it's all over the place.
For sure.
All over the place. Yeah.
Yeah, it is an amazing act of nature there. Okay, well, we'll wrap up soon. This is great. I hope you're having a good time.
I am, absolutely. I'll talk all day, man.
Cool, yeah, no, for sure. Great. To be real honest with you, sometimes musicians can be kind of hard to have a conversation with in this setting. Not so much like the punk ones, because I think we all like sort of found each other through punk or whatever, and it's like, helped us in so many ways. But some musicians are really difficult to hold an interview with. So I appreciate you being so forthcoming with your ideas and opinions. I'm
an open book.
Awesome. Well, let's talk about your music. So He Then, is that a play on Heathen?
Yes. When my last band broke up in 2023, that was now at that point my sixth failed band. So I was like, I'm done with this shit, because being in bands and then you start getting you start making headway and getting like kind of bigger and bigger shows, and then inevitably somebody in the band turns out as a garbage human being, or somebody or something, right? And so I was done. I was out. I was done. And my drummer at the time, and I call him my drummer because we've been in 3 bands together. We would kind of form new bands or follow each other in another band. And he goes, hey, and we had bought some studio time, and he goes, you got to look at it this way. He goes, you write all the songs. He goes, and you write them acoustically, and then you bring them to rehearsal, and then we make them post-punk songs or whatever it was we were doing. I called it post-punk.
Sure.
He goes, you write all the music and the lyrics anyway. So he goes, go into the studio and record a solo album, and just, you never know, he's like, for shits and giggles, do it. Just do it. So I did, and I made that first album, Oblivion, and started getting shows off of it, and it just kind of took off. But after I recorded that album and started getting a couple of shows, I realized I didn't have a name yet. And I had always wanted, I don't know why, but I had always wanted to be one of those solo artists that had a band name, like Iron and Wine, right? As a solo artist that has like a band name, I always wanted to do that. So I was like, I'm going to do that. And I wanted to, because where I grew up, again, this is kind of a running theme. It's the kind of, the scenarios where we come from will always shape us. And that same family that was hypocritical, like we were just talking about, they were the shitty people, but since I didn't go to church, I was the heathen of the family.
Right.
And so I was going to call myself heathen, but then I knew, like, there's two bands. There's an American metal band called Heathen already.
Oh, okay.
And then there's I think they're Swedish or Finnish, like EDM band or something that's called already. So that name's already taken. So, but I still wanted to be called that. So I don't even know where I was, but I was driving somewhere.
Yeah. And
just kind of out of the blue, I'm like, why don't I call it he then? And then that'll have the double meaning. Like it could be, he then wrote a song, or he then got, sober or whatever. But if you say it fast, it's about the same thing. So that's where that came from.
It honestly, it took me like a little, I was like, heathen, and then I started listening to your music. I was like, oh, heathen. I honestly thought that it might have been a play on like they, them.
That's what I get that a lot too.
I bet.
Honestly, that I'm just as cool with that too.
Sure,
right? Because I think we need to have more conversations where we let people know that they're comfortable, like they're safe with us.
For
right.
Sure.
I think that right now, especially, especially the trans community, they are really, really getting fucked with right now. And I think it's important for, I'm a cis white male. I don't face anything. I don't have, there's nothing in my way. The world was made for me. And that privilege, I think it's important that, someone that looks like me and sounds like me uses that privilege. So if I've gotten that before, which I have, from people coming up to me in the trans community after a show, and that's what they thought it was, and I'm like, I'm just as proud of that, because you need to be I think it's important to be a beacon for, and be very outward about it. Like, you're safe with me. The only people that are not safe with me are fucking Nazis and nationalists.
Sure. Have you ever got people like that approaching you at shows because of the name or the music? Really?
Nope. Well, I think it's because I've had people leave my shows, because I'm very, very open. At some point in my set, it will come up, and I will say things like Black Lives Matter, Trans Lives Matter, fuck Trump, fuck fascism.
Nice.
What I say a lot is that in my shows is there's nothing more American than punching a Nazi.
For sure.
So
absolutely. Yeah.
It's very, very, I think it's very apparent, like, what I stand for, because I make sure, not only do I make sure, but also I can't help myself. I think I want people to know, because I'm heavily tattooed and I'm bald. Right. So I don't want people to think that, well, that's a guy I can be racist around. No, you can't. And we need to make racists afraid again. We need to make Nazis afraid again. They need to go back under their fucking rock.
Right. Sure.
They're empowered right now. They can run around thinking they can, and we need to make sure, like, nope, you're not gonna. Nah. So that's never been a mistake that's been made, because I make it very obvious, I think. So
yeah, I saw. I don't know if you're on it on Facebook, the AZ Punk Scene group. That's how I met like Jeremy and Matt and I think Nunn. But someone made a post recently about the comedian, I think his name is Dale Quinn, who performed in Mesa like a year ago or something like that. And I guess he's like the person who made the post, who I think actually follows the podcast. Shout out Scott Gesser, I think is your name. I'm sure.
I played with Scott as well.
Yeah,
I played a show with Scott. Yeah, okay. I did Paint Punk with Scott. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll have to have him on. He was saying that, like, I think Dale Quinn, I think that's his name. He is like a known like Nazi sympathizer or whatever, and he had an opener named Leonarda something. She's been on that show, Kill Tony, and she's in like the Austin comedy scene. But like straight up, her comedy it's not comedy. She's like just straight up a racist and a homophobe. Like, and really, like, it took me like a couple watches to be like, oh, she actually means this shit. Like, I'm into some pretty edgy comedy, but like you can tell when someone actually means it versus like a joke. You know what I mean?
You can, yeah,
like
absolutely.
if you're well versed in stand up, you know what I mean. For some people, I think it's kind of harder to realize like these are just jokes. You know what I mean? But that's a whole other subject.
Yeah, that's a whole other show. That we could do an hour on that. Too,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
On censorship and all that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I guess like when last time he performed or whatever, and she was there, that like Nazis showed up like with pamphlets and were like distributing them at the show or something like that. I might be totally butchering what happened, but yeah. So well, that's good to hear that you haven't had to face that. You know, like I'm from Los Angeles originally, obviously a very diverse place. Of course, it does have elements of racism and whatnot.
Not as bad as Phoenix, though.
Not as bad as Phoenix, exactly. Yeah. So moving here and coming to a predominantly white place after being around predominantly Mexican people and Koreans. I'm actually part Korean. It's a huge culture shock when I first came out here like 19 years ago. Just like, I mean, being on the bus and seeing just a punk looking chick and being like, oh, that chick's kind of cute. You know, I look down and there's a swastika on her ankle. You know, and like no one's saying anything. They're seeing guys with 88 tattooed on their neck. I think my brother was on his motorcycle one time and some dude started like hiling at him for like, yeah. And this was before Trump, long before Trump. So,
well, I mean, that's another thing. Is like, it's not even without my music. I think like even my tattoos, I want to make it very apparent. You know, on my arm, like I said, I'm tattooed everywhere, but right on the front of my arm, so it can be seen, is you know, the upside down cross that says "No gods, no masters."
Oh, okay.
So it's like, hey, show me your swastika, I'll show you this. You want to go down that road? Let's do this. So you know, but yeah, I mean, it's like Phoenix has the smallest African American population of any major city in the United States. Less than 7% of Phoenix is African American. Yeah,
even compared to like Portland.
I believe so. Yeah,
really?
I do believe so. Like, I mean, Phoenix was one of the last cities to really openly and lawfully go against segregation. Like, there's a reason why the black population of Phoenix is still concentrated to the same neighborhoods. Right.
Oh, okay.
So. And another little fact, and one of the reasons I got out of social work on that subject, Phoenix is less than 7% African American, but the foster children in state care in Arizona, that population is over 40% African American.
Yeah. So
the kind of inherent racism in our social services here.
So interesting you brought that up. So my child is autistic, right? And I'm a paid parent provider, meaning that I am a direct care worker. I'm an employee of a company that is contracted with the state that receives federal funds. So I'm able to provide for my autistic child without having to go to a day job. Thank God. If I had to, you know, up until recently, we just moved in with my mom and her husband. But before that, I was doing this completely by myself for 5 years. It would have been 100% impossible for me to work a regular 40-hour-a-week job and know that my child was safe somewhere. So I'm very thankful for that. But anyways, you bringing up the foster children in Arizona. So yesterday I had to do training, an annual training. I've done it several times. It's just mandatory by the state on abuse and neglect, like how to recognize it, how to, I'm sure you're aware of Article 9, how to follow the protocols of that.
All of that.
Yeah. And the trainer, shout out Mariah, she brought up a statistic where like in California of the whole state, there's like 48,000 children in foster care or something like that. And Arizona is like 46,000. And just think about that ratio.
Is massive. Yeah.
That's insane. Yeah. I mean, Maricopa County is like what, 1% of the population of Los Angeles County or something like that, or maybe 10%. Yeah. That's insane to me. That's, you know, conservatives love to pride themselves on being like the party of the family, and it's like, well, look at your states. You know, like
the people that, I mean, it's the same thing. Like you have like the poorest counties in the poorest states are all red states. The highest usage of SNAP benefits and Medicaid are all very, very Republican controlled counties in the South, mainly. So that, I mean, that hypocrisy has always been something that's blown my mind. Like it's there's this funny thing that people say, you know, people always say, the older you get, the more conservative you get. The older I get, the farthest left I get. Like, I'm like,
Right, for sure.
let's revolution time,
Yeah,
type
for
thing.
sure.
So it's like that, the hypocrisy is crazy, and the disparities, in just the economic disparities, the social disparities in the United States, and how it's worse in conservative controlled places. And the other thing about children in care, and it's very, very hard to do anything about a system that is built against poverty. The very definition that you're when you work in child and family services, the very definitions that you go by to say that neglect is happening are byproducts of poverty, right?
Right.
A child that is not clothed properly or fed all of the time that's neglect, and action can be taken against those parents. 90% of the time, they're not doing it on purpose. True abuse is actually not as common as people think. It happens, and I've seen it, and it is horrible. But most of it is a byproduct of poverty.
Yes.
And it's about putting services in place and preventing a child from going into the state's care when they're going to be better off staying with their family. The reason that kid is not getting food all of the time is, number one, because mom is working 3 jobs and can't be there all the time to cook their food, or the child is not getting free or reduced school lunch because conservatives are doing everything in their power to get rid of stuff like that because it's a handout.
Right.
You know what I mean? So poverty is the most things that put people in prison or children into state care are byproducts of poverty. And instead of attacking poverty, we attack poor people. Just like it's the same thing. We have a war on drugs, right? Like it's like, why not have a war on poverty?
Right. Yeah.
Not a war on the poor, right? But like we have a war on the poor. Why don't we fight poverty instead of making people in poverty make it impossible for them to get out of poverty?
Right. Yeah.
So
I heard on NPR a long time ago. I forget what the context was, but somebody said it's expensive to be poor. I was like, oh yeah, it fucking is. And it is
like overdraft fees.
Yeah.
Rich people don't have to worry about overdraft fees.
For sure.
Poor people are the only ones that overdraft, and every time you overdraft, like you're losing more and more money, right?
Yeah.
Housing, poor people don't really own homes, so they make it even harder for somebody to get an apartment. You have a low credit score, you can't get a good apartment. Well, how do I get a good credit score? I'm stuck in poverty. Is cyclical, and it is generational,
for sure.
And the fact that it turns out that it's actually rare to break the cycle of poverty. I didn't learn that. I thought everybody did that. I thought what I did was like something everybody does. Like nobody wants to be poor, so you break out of it. Well, turns out breaking the cycle of poverty, it was the poverty in my family was 4 or 5 generations thick. Yeah. And this whole thing, if you break the cycle of poverty, your family looks at you as like a traitor.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. A class traitor, I guess.
and it's ingrained in you're raised to think that you're poor. You were born that way, and you're going to stay poor, and to want to leave what you have and this family you have is why would you want to do that, and why would you want to go to college and and be brainwashed by liberal socialists and
for sure. Honestly, I think some of that has sort of bled into the punk rock way of thinking. You know what I mean? Like you're not as I've played in many bands. One, we got signed to a label, not a major label, but a pretty big independent label, and just I remember getting shit from other musicians in the town, and it's like you're not supposed to want success as a punk. You know what I mean? You're just always supposed to stay at breaking even, never, having a house, always having roommates. It's just I don't know. Okay, so I got 2 more questions for you, and then we'll end it. Thank you so much for coming on again. The first one will be kind of heavy. The second one will be silly. Okay, so. Speaking of the cycles of abuse, let's say Trump.
Yeah.
In regards to Trump. Okay, so sort of like you were saying, like a lot of people who become abusers don't really recognize it because it's so internalized, right? They continue the cycle of abuse unknowingly. And so I guess my question is, do you think Trump truly loves himself the way he's always portraying himself, as this over maniacal narcissist, or do you think he so deeply hates himself that he's doing all this bullshit to the world?
I think it's honestly a kind of a mix of the two. I think that because and it's, again, this is going to kind of segue, and we were just talking about class and class work, is that he was raised in affluency, in extreme affluency. So, children raised in affluency are taught they can do no wrong,
right,
and that they are kind of the chosen ones, and they're going to be the ones that are going to run banks and run multinational corporations. And there's no doubt that's going to happen. Even when they're horrible people, they'll get a company given to them, like Donald Trump.
For sure.
So I think part of it is being raised in affluency, and affluency is also cyclical and generational, just like poverty.
Definitely.
And so you have, I think he has this frame of mind that he's untouchable, and that rich people are the only worthy people in this world. But I also think that a lot of it is projection. He has to be disgusted with himself. He has to be. I mean, the shit that he does and the shit that he says, but I think maybe he's also not aware of it. I really do think that there is some early onset dementia kicking in. I really, really do. He is not well. During his first presidency, because I went back to college late, so I was at ASU when he was president the first time.
Oh, okay.
And I had my last year at ASU. There was a lot of psychology heavy classes because again my degree was in social work. Yeah. And like every psychology professor I had would talk about how there are very, very obvious signs of mental and emotional instability with this man. I had one psychology professor that goes, it is textbook sociopathy. The man is a master manipulator that literally does not have an ounce of empathy in his, but he has no natural empathy. So I think it might be a combination of the two. I mean, he has it, maybe, but then again, maybe not. Maybe he's so gone that he thinks that the way he looks at the world and the way he treats people is okay, and that's the way it should be. I mean, either way, he's a disgusting person that history will not remember well. So,
absolutely, fuck that guy, for sure. Yeah. Well, okay, real quick. So, what I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the difference between psychopathy and sociopathy is that psychopaths don't recognize the difference between right and wrong. A sociopath does, but chooses not to care. Is that accurate? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So then wouldn't he sort of be more on the side of being a psychopath? Like he can't?
Again, I mean, honestly, no, that's it. Like I wonder if he's, again, maybe a combination. I mean, I don't know, man. You wonder with how like outrageous the shit he does and says is. Right. Maybe he can't be aware of that. I don't. He's a weird one. He's honestly a weird. They should probably take his brain when he dies and really like dissect it or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and then inject it into space after burning it or something.
Oh yeah, or in the Mariana Trench, somewhere where it can't come back. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, good point. Yeah, we wouldn't want to add him to.
Unfortunately, he already procreated, so it's too late for him.
I know. Yeah, I'll just end that section on this. I doubt that man has ever experienced love in his life, or true love. I think everything's just been like business. I bet his childhood was just. He was treated like a business asset, and that's the way he treats. So, and no sympathy for him, absolutely, but Jesus,
because everybody gets to a point where they have a choice, right? Yeah. So, like, I've seen people that were raised that way, that were like, they got to a point and they're like, no, this isn't right.
Right.
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, there's historically been a lot of people like you can break. There's got to be every human has some level of self-awareness.
Yeah, for sure.
And then just some people are probably better at just suppressing it and continuing to suppress it for eternity, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it is a quandary for the ages, for sure. Okay, so we'll wrap it up on this. And again, this is a silly question. I try to ask everybody who comes on the show this. Would you rather attend the Gathering of the Juggalos or Burning Man? And why?
Oh, man. Yeah, I don't know. This might be maybe where I lose you, where you might be like, wait, hold on a second. I actually saw, to me, Burning Man is a gathering of mostly affluent white people who want to be poor for a weekend.
For sure. Yeah.
And those are not really my people. I saw a documentary on I can't remember what it was on, but I saw this documentary on the gathering of the Juggalos. And I'm not gonna lie, these are not, again, these are also probably not my people, but these gatherings were very like kind of loving.
Yes.
Like they were, and there's all kinds of different, like there was, I mean, there wasn't necessarily racial diversity. I mean, there was some in this documentary. There's Black Juggalo.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
There's
Like Mexican I grew up with them, yeah.
That gathering, those gatherings, after watching this documentary, I was like, holy shit, I think we're looking at Juggalos all wrong.
100%, my friend.
Honestly,
yeah.
out of the choice of those two, I'd rather go to a Juggalo gathering. Absolutely.
Well, you might be glad to know that on this podcast, you are in the vast majority of people who have answered the Gathering of the Juggalos. Yes, by far. I'm talking 97, 98% of people that I've asked that question to have said they'd much rather go to the Gathering of the Juggalos.
All right.
Yeah. No,
I found my podcast.
Yeah, there you go. Awesome. I think the Juggalos are very much so punk adjacent. It's all about family and togetherness, and they all come from a fucked up place. It's sort of the complete opposite of Burning Man. It's by and large, it's poor people coming together to be just together and vibe over the music and the drugs that they're into or whatever. You know what I mean? I think it's a sign of a thing of beauty. Okay, yeah. Before we go, you have this will come out in a few weeks. You have anything in like September you'd like to plug, or any upcoming shows, or how to find you on social media?
Yeah, I'm actually doing the Tempe Noise Festival.
Yes, I want to go to that. Yeah,
I'm playing on the Saturday. I'm playing September 6th at 4 p.m. at it's across 3 venues. It's Friday and Saturday across 3 venues. Timeout Lounge. They're all 3 at Baseline and Mill, or Southern and Mill.
Southern, yeah.
Not Base. Southern and Mill. Yeah. Just north of the 60 on Mill, and it's across 3 venues right across from each other. On the northeast corner is Timeout Lounge, which I've played at probably 15, 20 times in my music career here, nice. And it is a quintessential kind of classic Tempe dive bar, not a Mill Avenue fancy. Right. It's a dive bar, and it is great. I've played there numerous times for a reason. It's just a great dive bar. And then on the opposite corner, the southwest corner, is Yucca Tap Room and Rocket. And I've played a Yucca Tap Room quite a few times too. That's also a Tempe staple. Yeah. And then Rocket is kind of the smaller place in that same strip mall as Yucca Tap Room. Where I think they're putting like the kind of the more mellow, like the mellow noise. So I'm playing at the Rocket at 4 p.m. on September 6th for the Tempe Noise Festival. So
awesome, cool. I'll clip that and I'll make sure to post it on Instagram. Just lots of people now are following from the Arizona area, so I'm trying to help out as much as I can. So yeah,
that's great, man. And we'll I'll tell people about this podcast as well. Yeah, I mean, I think it's like the people that think like us that make the kind of music are as passionate about music and politics as we are. We need to stick together, especially in times like these. So
Definitely.
And my Instagram is he underscore then band. If people want to follow me. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, everybody, thank you again for tuning in to Let's Ruin Our Lives podcast. Find us on Facebook, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Just type in Let's Ruin Our Lives. This has been Tim Scritchfield of He Then. Great conversation. Thank you again so much for coming on. Everybody, love each other as much as you can. Mahalo.
But I'd rather be blind in heaven than sighted in hell.
But guess it really isn't sin. There's a better way to get some super luck. Don't read no magazine or some stupid book. You care about what people think because you're insecure. You don't want your heart, it's your own, but not too sure. Share some words of wisdom to play a simple voice. And be the rich and live it, not sure.